Today we're going to sew following a curved line. So you want to draw a curved shape or letter on your piece of muslin. I have a 12 by 12 square. So I've decided to do one side that has a fuller curve, more of like a C shape, and one side that has a few more windy lines, like an S shape. So we can really practice the different types of turns that we'll be doing. Now I'm going to sew around my curve. So I'm going to pick a starting point. I'm going to start at the top, so I have the smooth section first, then we can get in the more intricate wavy section. Still going to start by back stitching my stitch. And then I'm slowly going to go along my curve, and as I go, when I'm slowly turning my stitch, slight movements of my fabric. You want to take the curves much slower to start with so that you can move your fabric a little bit by bit. And I'm keeping an eye on the line, but I'm also keeping an eye on where my presser foot is going. Now, coming around this curve is a little bit harder, so I'm actually going to lift up my presser foot while my needle is still in the fabric and turn a little bit. So releasing that tension on the fabric makes it a little bit easier to turn without moving. I'm going to go a little bit, taking it slow, and I'm making very small turns with my hand on the fabric. And if I need to, for this turn, I might even take my hand wheel. So I'm moving my hand wheel on the far right side of my machine rather than pressing with my foot. Going in, I'm going to lift up and turn. So on these much tighter turns, use your presser foot to help you. So I'm turning my hand wheel towards me instead of pressing with my foot. And once I get to a point where I feel comfortable sewing regularly again, I can start turning. And so I'm slowly turning my way. These more tight turns, I'm going to lift with my hand wheel, and even when I use my hand wheel, I'm still slowly shifting the fabric as I go. So I'm using my left hand to really guide it. Taking it slow. I'm putting some pressure on my foot, but letting my hand wheel do most of the work. A lift, you want to make sure there's no puckering in your fabric while you're turning. I came a little bit off my line, so I'm going to make sure I'm back on it again. Take a stitch. Turn. Again, I'm slowly turning my fabric. But you don't want to turn so far that you get so many puckers. When you lift your presser foot to turn, you want to make sure that you're not creating any really sharp, harsh turns. Sometimes you can turn a little bit too far, too quick, and it'll make a more pointed line rather than a curve in your stitching. So we're going to come back around. Now I want to make sure my lines meet up, and I come back. Now here's my final stitched over curve shape. My stitching meets up nicely back at the start. Just give it one more press to get on any puckering. There we have it.